All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526. Rushing back to Flower Street. After collecting Dakimaki's blood, Bai Yu stepped on the raindrops again, jumped in front of Dakimaki's body, and then took the collected blood. After that, Bai Yu came to Himafutero's side. Seeing that Inosuke was still destroying Himafutero's body, Bai Yu grabbed Inosuke and said, "Inosuke, that's enough. He's dead." After Inosuke was grabbed by Bai Yu, he asked again, "Is he dead?" "Dead." Bai Yu nodded, and then said, "You should go and see how Zenitsu is doing." Hearing this, Inosuke immediately went to check on Agatsuma's Zenitsu. Bai Yu took out another blood collection tool, and collected a portion of Himafutero's blood. Although Dakimaki and Himafutero have a symbiotic relationship, Bai Yu is not sure whether their blood is the same, so it is better to collect a portion from both. After collecting blood, Inosuke had carried Agatsuma's Zenitsu on his back. Bai Yu checked Agatsuma's Zenitsu's physical condition. After knowing that Agatsuma's Zenitsu was not seriously injured, Bai Yu treated the bite on his neck. When Bai Yu saw the bite on Agatsuma's Zenitsu's neck, he thought it was bitten by Nezuko, but after asking, he found out that it was bitten by Daki. After that, Bai Yu opened a hole in the cliff and asked everyone to move into the cave. Now that the battle is over, there is no need to get wet in the rain. After doing this, Bai Yu said to everyone, "You guys should recuperate here first. I have to go back to the Flower Street to take a look." At this time, Hattori Kyujo finally had the opportunity to ask Bai Yu. Although Hattori Kyujo didn't know what to ask, she still asked, "Captain Bai Yu, did you use the breath of fire just now?" Hearing this, Bai Yu looked at Hattori Kyujo and immediately nodded without saying much. Sooner or later, people will know that he can use many different types of breathing, so Bai Yu did not deliberately hide it, but Bai Yu would not deliberately show off. "We will go too," Shinayu and Suma said in unison. Now that the crisis here has been resolved, they are worried about their husbands, Yuzu Tenjin. No one can tell what the situation is like in the Flower Street. Bai Yu did not stop them too much, but just said, "Whatever, but I won't wait for you." After saying that, Bai Yu flashed away. At this time, Bai Yu was also worried about Kocho Shinobu, so Bai Yu naturally would not slow down to wait for Shenyu and Suma. Bai Yu had experienced the power of Kokushibo. During the Infinite Train, Bai Yu knew that Kokushibo had not used all his strength, so even if there were 3 pillars to deal with Kokushibo, Bai Yu was still worried. Shenyu and Suma knew that they could not keep up with Bai Yu's speed, so they did not mean to let Bai Yu wait. After all, the situation in Hanamachi is unclear, and Shinayu and Suma have seen how powerful Bai Yu is, so the sooner Bai Yu can rush back to Hanamachi to provide support, the better they would like to see. The reason why they also want to go back is to confirm the situation of Yuzu Tenjin. "You just stay here, and we will come back after the crisis in Hanamachi is resolved." Shinayu finally reminded Tanjiro and the others, and then left with Suma. At this time, Hattori Kyujo, who was leaning against the rock wall, asked Tanjiro, "Tanjiro, who is Bai Yu?" Chapter 527. Inosuke lacks spiritual strength. The reason why Hattori Kyujo asked Tanjiro this was because Tanjiro and Shiraha seemed to have a close relationship, and Tanjiro might know more about Shiraha. Hearing this, Tanjiro shook his head and said, "I only know that Senior Shiraha is the guardian of Nezuko and everyone else." Although the relationship between Tanjiro and Shiraha seemed to be more subtle than that of others, and it seemed that Tanjiro knew a lot about Shiraha. In fact, Shiraha was also a person shrouded in mystery for Tanjiro. At this time, Inosuke, who was full of frustration, said, "Really?" In the end, nothing was done. After saying that, Inosuke hit his head heavily against the stone wall, and he couldn't accept himself like this. The reason why Inosuke did this was that he thought he didn't play any role in the battle. Not playing a role in the battle was a manifestation of incompetence, which made the strong Inosuke naturally unacceptable to his performance. "I'm still too weak. Too weak." Tanjiro could understand Inosuke's self-blame. His situation was the same as Inosuke's. In the battle just now, he was just a bystander. At the same time, because he was not strong enough, Nezuko almost lost her humanity and lost herself in order to protect herself. Inosuke, you have done a good job. If Nezuko hadn't lost control, you would have killed that Ukimaki long ago. Tanjiro immediately comforted Inosuke. With Tanjiro's comfort, Inosuke's mood immediately improved a lot, and then he put his hands on his waist and said along with Tanjiro, "That's right. It was all your disobedient sister who made me miss the opportunity to kill the earthworm girl." However, in the end, the limelight was still taken away by this guy Zenitsu. After this guy got a girlfriend, he became less timid and more powerful. The white-haired brother seems to have a girlfriend too. Maybe a girlfriend is the key to becoming stronger. It seems that I have to find a girlfriend too. Inosuke then changed the subject and analyzed it very seriously with his chin in his hand. Hearing this, Tanjiro was also shocked by Inosuke's peculiar brain circuit, but Tanjiro did not correct Inosuke's brain circuit. Because half of what Inosuke said was quite correct, that is, Agatsuma Zenitsu really changed a lot. After establishing a relationship with Kanzaki Aoi, Agatsuma Zenitsu was no longer as timid as before, and he became the most desperate one during training. In Zenitsu's words, he just didn't want Kanzaki Aoi to be a widow. Because of Kanzaki Aoi, although Zenitsu became more afraid of death, he also worked harder because of this, in order to become stronger and ensure that he would not die easily at the hands of the ghost. It can be said that Kanzaki Aoi became the spiritual motivation of Agatsuma Zenitsu, which is really a very good thing for Zenitsu, who never slacked off for the sake of the one he loves. But it is different for Bai Yu. Whether Bai Yu has a girlfriend or not, it is estimated that it will not have much impact on his own strength. However, for Inosuke, a girlfriend may not improve Inosuke's strength much, because Inosuke, with his stubborn mind, may not regard his girlfriend as too important. In other words, the current Inosuke lacks a firm belief and a spiritual strength. Chapter 528 Bai Yu arrives. Agatsuma Zenitsu's own talent is not bad. With the blessing of spiritual power, he is now at full firepower. Therefore, Zenitsu, who was originally the weakest, has suddenly become the strongest in the Golden Triangle. Perhaps after Inosuke gains spiritual power, his strength will be greatly improved. Because of the weather, Tanjiro and his friends couldn't find dry branches to make a fire for a while, and the temperature around made people feel a little cool. No one answered Inosuke's words, and there was no other sound, except the sound of rain outside. Hattori Kyujo was not interested in Inosuke's going to find his girlfriend. On the other side, Bai Yu rushed back to the flower street at his fastest speed. When Bai Yu rushed back, he saw the mess of the flower street, and also saw that Kokushibo had flashed to the back of the seriously injured Kocho Shinobu, and seemed to be planning to kill Kocho Shinobu from behind. When he saw this scene, Bai Yu's heart suddenly lifted up, and all the cells in his body suddenly exploded. Water breathing, 11th form, water shadow slash. Almost instantly, Bai Yu used water shadow slash to save Kocho Shinobu. Because if it was delayed even for a second, Kocho Shinobu would die. Bai Yu could not accept that the woman who had been with him day and night for more than half a year died in front of him. Just when Kokushibo's ghost sword was about to cut Kocho Shinobu's neck, Kokushibo's ghost sword collided with Bai Yu's water blade sword energy, and Bai Yu's water blade sword energy helped Kocho Shinobu block Kokushibo's fatal blow. On the way here, Bai Yu had already increased his heart rate to more than 200 beats per minute. Bai Yu's naked upper body can also be seen with spots. On Bai Yu's left chest, there are light blue spots similar to water waves, and on Bai Yu's right chest, there are dark brown spots similar to fire. The two kinds of spots spread around and have the meaning of blending. In the gap between these two different scars, there are also vein-like scars, which seem to be intended to connect the water wave-like scars and the fire scars. After opening the two states of Scarlet and Transparent World, Bai Yu's speed became faster, even faster than Zenitsu Agatsuma's Thunderbolt Flash. Almost at the same time, when Kokushibo chopped on the water blade sword energy, Bai Yu's figure had already appeared on the side of Kokushibo and cut off Kokushibo's arm with one knife. Because Bai Yu's demon slaying sword was still on Zenitsu Agatsuma, Bai Yu used his own sun wheel sword this time. At this time, the two-color sun wheel sword also had another color after Bai Yu mastered the breath of fire, and it became a three-color sun wheel sword. Kokushibo, whose arm was cut off, reacted very quickly. After feeling that something was wrong, he immediately pulled away. Breathing of flame, Form 1, Shiranu. Bai Yu didn't seem to plan to give Kokushibo a chance to breathe, and directly launched an urgent and strong attack on Kokushibo. Kokushibo looked at Bai Yu, who rushed over again. This time, Kokushibo also saw clearly that it was Bai Yu who saved Kocho Shinobu, and a trace of surprise flashed in Kokushibo's eyes. Chapter 529, Tragic Situation. Although Kokushibo was surprised, it did not affect Kokushibo's actions. Facing Bai Yu's attack, Kokushibo's arm that was cut off by Bai Yu was regenerated immediately and responded to Bai Yu's attack. Suddenly, dense metal collisions were heard in the air, and flames were everywhere. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Bai Yu and Kokushibo chopped no less than 10 swords. The extremely tight rhythm made Bai Yu and Kokushibo have no chance to use their moves. In the end, Bai Yu and Kokushibo, who could not tell the difference in swordsmanship, finally turned into a contest of strength. The weapons of the two were stuck together like magnets, and the figures of the two were temporarily fixed in place, and Kokushibo had the opportunity to talk to Bai Yu. "Did you kill that waste Akaza?" Although Kokushibo's words seemed to be concerned about Akaza, it could be heard from Kokushibo's tone that there was anger and unhappiness. Are all the upper rank demons so united and friendly? They even know how to care about their own kind. Instead of caring about him, why not care about yourself? Bai Yu did not tell Kokushibo about Akaza's situation. "You have already lost by burning your life to fight me. Even if I don't have to kill you, you won't live long," Kokushibo replied coldly. Hearing this, Bai Yu didn't know what Kokushibo meant, but Bai Yu didn't ask much. He still had 78 years to live, so how could he not live long? Exclamation mark. Compared to a monster like you who won't die naturally, I, as a human, really won't live long. Bai Yu replied again. The rescued Kocho Shinobu turned around and shouted to Bai Yu excitedly, "Bai Yu." Kocho Shinobu was seriously injured at this time. The most shocking thing was that Kocho Shinobu's right forearm was missing, which was obviously cut off when fighting Kokushibo. Yuzu Tenjin and Ringoku Kajiro were not in very good condition either. Ringoku Kajiro's calf was also cut off, and there was a deep bloody wound on his waist. Yuzu Tenjin's situation was even worse. His legs and one arm had been separated from his body, and there were many dense bloody wounds on his body. It can be said that Yuzu Tenjin was only hanging on with one breath. From the injuries of Kocho Shinobu, Ringoku Kajiro and Yuzu Tenjin, as well as the residual conditions around them, it can be seen how fierce the battle was at that time, and it can also prove how powerful Kokushibo was. Even if Bai Yu opened Transparent World and Stripes, Bai Yu only fought Kokushibo with a 50-50 fight under normal circumstances, and this was without releasing any moves. If the moves collided, Bai Yu might not be able to take advantage of Kokushibo, especially Kokushibo's moon breathing, 10-4 form, fierce change 10-man slim moon. If Kokushibo used it, Bai Yu could only dodge under normal circumstances. "Butterfly, go to a safe place and wait for me," Bai Yu immediately said to Shinobu Kocho when she called him. Shinobu Kocho did not back down, but said, "As a pillar, you cannot back down. And we have no reason to let you face it alone." Butterfly's right. How can we let you face it all alone? Although my limbs are broken, Butterfly and I still have the ability to fight. At this time, the seriously injured Ringoku Kajiro stood up on one leg with difficulty, and then said to Bai Yu in a loud voice. Chapter 530 Don't Chase Me. Although Yuzu Tenjin could no longer fight, he did not give up the chance to live easily. Instead, he tried to breathe hard and refused to give up until the end. Now is not the time to be brave. Listen. Bai Yu's tone suddenly became serious, with a hint of command. This is a great opportunity to kill Kokushibo. I will not leave. Kocho Shinobu also said very firmly. The reason why Kocho Shinobu was unwilling to leave, in addition to wanting to kill Kokushibo very much, was because Bai Yu opened the mark. The ghost hunters who opened the mark would not live to the age of 25, so Kocho Shinobu did not want Bai Yu's efforts to gain any results. It was also for this reason that, even if the pillars had the ability to open the mark, they would not easily set foot in that area. This was not because they were afraid of death, but it depended on the situation. If all the 6 upper string demons of the 12 demon moons were gathered here now, the 9 pillars would not hesitate to open the mark. The reason why Shinobu Kocho did not activate the mark is because she has not yet reached the activation conditions, and the same is true for Rengoku Kajiro and Juzu Tenjin. This is why Kokushibo said that Shiraha was fighting him at the cost of burning his life, because Kokushibo had already noticed the mark on Shiraha. When Kokushibo saw that Shiraha was still thinking about talking to other people, he naturally felt unhappy and immediately became unhappy. However, with Shiraha here, it would be difficult for Kokushibo to kill these pillars again. Since Shiraha has come back, it means that there is a problem with Akaza. Kokushibo does not know whether Tanjiro, who was specifically killed by Muzan Kibatsuji, has been killed. If Shiraha had come a little later, Kokushibo would have definitely dealt with Shinobu Kocho, Rengoku Kajiro and Juzu Tenjin. In this way, even if Shiraha came back, Kokushibo would not have a meaningless battle with Shiraha. And if Kokushibo wanted to leave, Shiraha would not be able to stop him. After careful consideration, Kokushibo has made a choice. Kokushibo feels that there is no need to continue to fight with Bai Yu. So Kokushibo took the initiative to retract his strength, and then immediately distanced himself from Bai Yu, and then turned into a black shadow and rushed out. Bai Yu is willing to see Kokushibo's active avoidance of the battle. Bai Yu is not afraid that he can't beat Kokushibo, but the situation of Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kajiro and Juzu Tenjin is already very serious. If it drags on for a longer time, it will only harm Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kajiro and Juzu Tenjin, and it will also make Bai Yu miss the best time for treatment. Because Bai Yu's wood essence can really make Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kajiro and Juzu Tenjin's broken limbs reattached. Of course, reattaching here does not mean that it will be intact immediately, but that the broken limbs will be saved for the time being. It will take a very long recovery process to truly recover. If Bai Yu repairs the broken limbs 24 hours a day, it will probably take a month for the broken limbs to be 100% reconnected to the body, and the reattached broken arms must be retrained to adapt the arms to the control of the brain. This is also a gradual process, so in the short term, they will definitely not be able to continue fighting. When Shinobu Kocho saw Kokushibo running away, she wanted to chase him, but was stopped by Bai Yu. Don't chase. Chapter 531, Kocho Shinobu's blame. Bai Yu tightly grasped Kocho Shinobu's broken arm, preventing her from chasing after him. Kocho Shinobu was somewhat puzzled by Bai Yu's choice, and then blamed Bai Yu, saying, "Why didn't you chase after him just now? We have already paid such a heavy price, but you let Kokushibo go like this? You made all our efforts go to waste." Rengoku Kajiro was also somewhat puzzled as to why Bai Yu didn't chase after Kokushibo, but Rengoku Kajiro didn't interrupt the argument between Kocho Shinobu and Bai Yu. But Rengoku Kajiro felt that there must be a reason why Bai Yu didn't chase after him. In Shinobu Kocho's opinion, Bai Yu was able to keep Kokushibo, even if he couldn't beat Kokushibo, even if he could just hold Kokushibo back, as long as he held on until dawn, Kokushibo would inevitably die. The reason why Bai Yu didn't chase after him was that he felt that there was a chance that Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kajiro, and Juzu Tenjin would not become disabled. If Bai Yu was not able to reattach the broken limbs of Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kajiro, and Juzu Tenjin, then Bai Yu would naturally choose to fight Kokushibo to the death, to avenge Kocho Shinobu's broken hand. Facing Kocho Shinobu's blame, Bai Yu was not angry, but said very gently, "Kokushibo's death is not as important as reattaching your broken limbs. I can't drag it on any longer. I have to treat you quickly." Hearing this, Kocho Shinobu didn't react to Bai Yu's words, and Kocho Shinobu didn't believe that Bai Yu had the ability to reattach the broken limbs. After all, the broken limbs have been completely separated from the body, and under normal circumstances, it is impossible to reattach them. After saying that, Bai Yu let go of Kocho Shinobu, and then carefully searched for Kocho Shinobu's broken limbs nearby. When he saw other broken limbs, Bai Yu also picked them up. About half a minute later, Bai Yu collected all the broken limbs back, and immediately used the wood essence to maintain the remaining activity of the broken limbs, so as to increase the success rate of reattaching the broken limbs. "Come here," Bai Yu said to the stunned Kocho Shinobu and Rengoku Kyojuro. Kocho Shinobu saw that Bai Yu was really ready to reattach their broken limbs, so she walked towards Bai Yu. Rengoku Kyojuro also jumped on one foot with difficulty to come to Bai Yu. At this time, Bai Yu was in front of Yuzu Tenjin, who was the most seriously injured, so Bai Yu planned to stabilize his condition first, and then reattach the broken limbs. "Rengoku, take off your clothes," Bai Yu immediately instructed again. Hearing this, Rengoku didn't know what Bai Yu was going to do, but it was impossible to chase Kokushibo now, so he could only do as Bai Yu said, and take off his clothes. Bai Yu spread Rengoku Kyojuro's clothes on the ground, and then placed the three people's broken limbs on the clothes one by one. After that, Bai Yu sat on the ground, and began to quickly operate his own wood breathing. A large amount of wood essence evaporated from Bai Yu's body. Bai Yu immediately gathered the wood essence in his hands. The wood essence of one hand maintained the activity of the broken limbs, and the wood essence of the other hand healed the user tension. Neither Kocho Shinobu nor Rengoku Kyojuro disturbed Bai Yu. This was the first time that Bai Yu used wood breathing in front of Kocho Shinobu and Rengoku Kyojuro. Kocho Shinobu and Rengoku Kyojuro could also feel the powerful vitality contained in the wood essence. Maybe Bai Yu really had a way to reattach their broken limbs to their bodies. Chapter 532 Reattaching a Broken Arm. In order to speed up the efficiency, Bai Yu raised the rhythm of the wood breathing to a very high level this time, so that more wood essence with healing factors can be squeezed out from nature faster. But this also consumes Bai Yu's physical strength extremely, and also increases the burden on Bai Yu's stanchion and lungs. After about a few minutes, Yuzu Tenjin's injury was temporarily stabilized. After stabilizing Yuzu Tenjin's situation, Bai Yu said to Kocho Shinobu, "Butterfly, sit down in front of me and stretch out your broken arm." Hearing this, Kocho Shinobu sat in front of Bai Yu and then reluctantly stretched out the broken arm. As a girl and Bai Yu's woman, Kocho Shinobu naturally didn't want Bai Yu to see herself like this. Bai Yu didn't think much about other things, but just wanted to quickly connect Kocho Shinobu's arm. Fortunately, the wound of Kocho Shinobu's broken limb was very flat, and it was obviously cut off by Kokushibo with a ghost sword, but this also reduced the difficulty of Bai Yu's connection work. Bai Yu took Kocho's broken limb in his hand, and then aligned it with Kocho's broken end. After roughly adjusting the angle, Bai Yu grabbed Kocho's broken limb with one hand and the remaining part of Kocho's arm with the other hand, and then simultaneously sent wood essence to Kocho at both ends. Immediately, Kocho felt a tingling sensation in her arm and a feeling of countless electric currents flowing through it. This feeling continued. The reason why Kocho felt this way was because Bai Yu first connected the nerves at the broken limb and the broken end, so Kocho felt this way. The process of connecting the nerves took about 5 minutes. Although Bai Yu did not connect all the nerves back, he connected the main nerves back. After that, Bai Yu started to reconnect the muscle tissue. This was also because of the urgency of time. If Bai Yu took up too much time on Kocho, it was very likely that Rengoku Kyojuro and Yuzu Tenjin would not have the opportunity to reconnect the broken limbs. Therefore, Bai Yu first chose to start with the thick nerves, and then the muscle tissue, so that the broken limb has at least been reconnected to the body. As for the subsequent connection of the bone tissue and the other nerve connections, they can be put aside for the time being. The connection between bones is the most difficult and time consuming, so Bai Yu plans to leave it to the end. The connection of the muscle tissue took about 7 or 8 minutes, and Bai Yu finally reconnected about 30% of the muscles. Lie down and don't move this hand for the time being. Bai Yu slowly supported Kocho Shinobu and let her lie down. Although Bai Yu said that she couldn't move, Kocho Shinobu still tried to move her fingers. Under the stimulation of some nerves, Kocho Shinobu really saw her fingers trembling slightly. Bai Yu noticed Kocho Shinobu's actions and couldn't help but say again, "Kiss Kocho. Your broken arm is not completely connected yet." Kocho Shinobu couldn't help but feel happy when she knew that her arm really had hope of being connected back, and her blame for Bai Yu disappeared in an instant. Afterwards, Bai Yu followed suit and reattached the severed arms of Rengoku Kaijiro and Yuzu Tenjin. Because Yuzu Tenjin's legs and one hand were cut off, his condition was the most serious, so Bai Yu put Yuzu Tenjin last, which was also a safer choice. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533, The Long Process. Just when Bai Yu was putting his broken leg back together for Purgatory's Xingjiang, Shenyu and Suma happened to come back. After the two of them saw the miserable condition of their husband Yasuhang Shinyuan, tears burst out of their eyes, and then they fell on Yasuhang Shinyuan's chest and started crying. After Yuzu and Shinyuan was treated by Bai Yu, his consciousness remained awake. After seeing Shenyu and Zuma, the concern in Yuzu and Shinyuan's heart finally settled. The physical pain seemed to have completely disappeared at that moment. Even if Yuzu and Shinyuan died like this now, it would be a death without worries. Now is not the time to cry in mourning. Get out of the way and stand aside, Bai Yu said to Shenyu and Zuma at this time. Hearing this, Shenyu and Zuma were extremely confused, but seeing Bai Yu's very serious look, they did not dare to disobey Bai Yu, and immediately stepped aside obediently, but their tears still couldn't stop. Those who live there are moving out. Then Bai Yu began to reattach Yuzu and Shinyuan's severed limb. Yuzu and Shinyuan looked at Bai Yu with deep gratitude in his eyes and said, "Thank you." Although Yuzu and Shinyuan's thank you was simple, it was these two words carry Yuzu and Shinyuan's true feelings. Bai Yu just nodded to Yuzu and Shinyuan, and didn't say much. Instead, he concentrated on reattaching Yuzu and Shinyuan's severed limb. Bai Yu started with the arms first, because Bai Yu felt that the arms were much more important, so he started to reattach the arms first. Shenyu and Zuma watched quietly. They didn't know what Bai Yu was doing at first, but gradually they seemed to know what Bai Yu was doing. Although this thing seemed so absurd and unrealistic, Bai Yu did just doing it. Bai Yu spent the longest time on Yuzu and Shinyuan. It took more than half an hour to complete all the most basic connection work. When Bai Yu stopped, he could feel that he was much tired. However, Bai Yu did not end the work, but started from Butterfly Ninja to further complete the remaining connection work. Butterfly Ninja could see that Bai Yu's body was running under high load, but Butterfly Ninja did not say anything to stop Bai Yu. This did not mean that Butterfly Ninja did not care about Bai Yu or felt sorry for Bai Yu, but because even if he was stopped, Bai Yu would not stop. Bai Yu, don't hurt your body. Although he didn't stop him, Butterfly Ninja still reminded Bai Yu and asked him to do what he could. The main reason is that the Butterfly Ninjas don't know whether this magical healing technique will damage Bai Yu himself, so they are afraid that after Bai Yu reconnects his broken arm for them, he will also suffer irreversible damage. Faced with Butterfly Ninja's concern, Bai Yu's tired expression suddenly showed a smile. The second round of connection work took much longer than the first round, almost more than an hour, and the rain stopped during this period. After 2 rounds of connection work, he almost fainted. Fortunately, Bai Yu finally overcame the feeling of fainting. Butterfly Ninja felt anxious when he saw Bai Yu's posture about to faint. Then he immediately sat up and asked worriedly, "Bai Yu, are you okay?" However, because the severed arm was already connected to the body, but the injury had not fully recovered, so when the Butterfly Ninja suddenly moved like this, she immediately felt the sting of her broken arm. Chapter 534. Yuzu Tenjin suddenly loses his temper. The stinging pain made Shinobu Kocho frown immediately. Bai Yu immediately turned to Shinobu Kocho and then looked at her angrily. Bai Yu was angry because Shinobu Kocho had forced her arm to move before it healed, which naturally had an impact on the recovery of her arm. It was also the first time that Shinobu Kocho saw Bai Yu's angry expression, and Shinobu Kocho suddenly felt that Bai Yu's angry expression made her feel very cute, and a smile appeared on her face again. "I'm fine. Don't move. Lie down quickly." Although Bai Yu was a little angry, he didn't say anything extreme, but just asked Shinobu Kocho to lie down. At this time, the sky was much brighter, but the sun didn't come out. Not long after, the hidden troops appeared in the flower street with great momentum and began to work on the aftermath of the flower street. One of the teams came to the place where Bai Yu was. After seeing such heavyweights as Bai Yu, Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin, they first respectfully called out to Bai Yu, Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin, Master Bai Yu, Master Kocho, Master Rengoku, Master Yuzu. But at the same time, they also saw the injuries of Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin, and they were all shocked. This is the pillar. They are all injured like this. Although shocked, they immediately carried out preliminary treatment and bandages on the external injuries of Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin. The injuries of Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin had long been controlled by Bai Yu, so there was not much work left for the invisible department to deal with. After the hidden core treated the injuries of Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro, and Juzu Tenjin, Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro, and Juzu Tenjin were carried on stretchers. Afterwards, Bai Yu followed the hidden core members to a temporary resettlement point. Compared to being outside, this place was indeed much better. At least they didn't have to lie on the wet ground. After arriving at the resettlement point, Bai Yu ran into Kanzaki Aoi. After seeing Bai Yu, Kanzaki Aoi immediately rushed to Bai Yu and asked worriedly, "Sir Bai Yu, where are Zenitsu and the others?" Seeing Kanzaki Aoi's worried expression, Bai Yu patted her on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Zenitsu is fine. You should take care of Kocho, Rengoku, and Yuzu first." Hearing this, Kanzaki Aoi noticed Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin lying on the stretcher. Kanzaki Aoi immediately rushed to Kocho Shinobu and asked worriedly, "Sir Kocho, are you okay?" Kocho Shinobu smiled at Kanzaki Aoi, raised her other uninfected arm, touched Kanzaki Aoi's head, and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine. Aoi-chan, how can you be biased? Yuzu's and my injuries are much more serious than Kocho. Don't you plan to care about us?" Rengoku Kaijiro teased Kanzaki Aoi at this time. Hearing this, Kanzaki Aoi was a little embarrassed, but the smart Kanzaki Aoi still replied, "Lord Rengoku, we have to take turns to greet you." And seeing that Lord Rengoku can still make a joke, there is no danger to his life. After Kanzaki Aoi finished speaking, Yuzu Tenjin suddenly had a critical situation of shortness of breath. Shin and Suma suddenly became nervous and shouted, "Lord Yuzu, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me." Chapter 535, Broken Curse. Kanzaki Aoi immediately became nervous when she saw this, and then she came in front of Yuzu Tenjin and began to examine him. Bai Yu did not make any move, but just stood there and watched quietly, because Bai Yu knew at the first time that Yuzu Tenjin was pretending. As for why Yuzu Tenjin pretended to be dying, it was probably to cooperate with Rengoku Kaijiro to tease Kanzaki Aoi. So Bai Yu did not mean to spoil the show. "Yuzu is almost done. Look how anxious you made the child," Shinobu Kocho said to Yuzu Tenjin at this time. After Shinobu Kocho said this, Yuzu Tenjin recovered, and then joked to Kanzaki Aoi, "Do Rengoku and I, two rough guys, have no sense of existence? I saw that when you met, you only had eyes for the handsome guy Bai Yu." Kanzaki Aoi saw that she was teased, and immediately pointed at Yuzu Tenjin and said, "You bad guy, you just bully me." After Kanzaki Aoi made such a fuss, Yuzu Tenjin also surrendered immediately and comforted Kanzaki Aoi. This can be regarded as a kind of relaxation after the fierce battle. After settling Shinobu Kocho, Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin, Shin and Suma stayed to look after the three. Bai Yu changed into a new set of clothes sent by Kanzaki Aoi, and then took a small team to bring Tanjiro and others back. When Bai Yu came to where Tanjiro was, he found that Tanjiro had fallen asleep, and only Inosuke and Hattori Kyujo were awake. Afterwards, Inosuke carried Tanjiro back to the flower street, while Nezuko was carried back by Bai Yu in a wooden box of mist spruce. As for Agatsuma Zenitsu and Hattori Kyujo, they were carried back on stretchers by the members of the Hidden Corps. Bai Yu and his party stayed in the Flower Street for another 2 to 3 days, and the aftermath of the Flower Street was completed. Except that the traces of the battle had not been completely eliminated. The Flower Street had resumed its previous operation. However, the news that the famous fallen princess Werin of Kagakuya had disappeared was widely spread in the Flower Street. The reputation of Kagakuya was naturally affected to a certain extent, so Kagakuya could only speed up the training of a new Warren, but these were no longer important. In 2 or 3 days, Bai Yu, Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kyojiro, and Yuzu Tenjin summarized all the situations, and then used a crow to pass the situation here back to the headquarters in written form. It can be said that in this battle of the Flower Street, although Kocho Shinobu, Rengoku Kyojiro and Yuzu Tenjin were severely injured, but at least they still gained something. At least the upper 6 of the 12 demon moons has been killed. This is a turning point for the Demon Slayer Corps. In the long game with Muzan Kibutsuji, the Demon Slayer Corps finally changed the situation. You must know that after Muzan Kibutsuji established the 12 demon moons, the 6 upper string demons in the 12 demon moons have never been defeated by the Demon Slayer Corps. The death of the upper 6 can be said to have broken this curse. When this news was passed back to the Demon Slayer Corps head, Yubuayashiki Yoya was so excited that he vomited blood. What a Bai Yu. He is really the lucky star of my Demon Slayer Corps. Yubuayashiki Yoya trembled and grabbed the letter in his hand, and couldn't help but said excitedly. Chapter 536 Hattori Kyujo's request. During the 2 or 3 days that Bai Yu was resting in the Flower Street, he went to restore the broken limbs of Shinobu Kocho, Rengoku Kyojiro and Yuzu Tenjin on a regular basis every day. Bai Yu basically stayed by Shinobu Kocho's side most of the time, and Yuzu Tenjin also had his 3 wives to take care of him. As for Rengoku Kyojiro, a bachelor, he could only envy her. Tanjiro, Nezuko and Agatsuma Zenitsu were all in a deep coma. Nezuko and Agatsuma Zenitsu's coma was easy to explain, but Tanjiro's coma was a bit confusing. Inosuke, who was only slightly injured, took advantage of Tanjiro and Agatsuma Zenitsu's coma and trained even harder. Hattori Kyujo was quietly recovering from her injuries, and Bai Yu would also take time to visit her. After all, he couldn't leave her out in the cold. In fact, Bai Yu didn't know Hattori Kyujo very well. Although the time they spent together was not short, most of it was just teaching. As for Hattori Kyujo's family situation, and why he became a ghost hunter, Bai Yu didn't know. During Bai Yu's visit to Hattori Kyujo suddenly said to Bai Yu, "Can you help me get revenge?" When Bai Yu heard this, he was a little surprised, but not too surprised. At the same time, Bai Yu also knew that Hattori Kyujo might have become a ghost hunter because of his belief in revenge, which is actually the reason why most people become ghost hunters. Then what? Bai Yu did not give Hattori Kyujo any answer, but asked back. In fact, whether to help Hattori Kyujo get revenge or not is a matter of indifference to Bai Yu. Bai Yu wants to know what Hattori Kyujo plans to do after completing his revenge. Regarding this point, Hattori Kyujo has never thought about what he should do after successfully taking revenge. At this time, Hattori Kyujo was silent. Actually, there is no need to help or not. As a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, killing demons is what I can do and will do. It's just that I killed your target of hatred, and then what? Hatred should not be the whole of your life. Maybe you should think about your life in 10 or 20 years. By that time, obviously you will have retired from the front line because of your age. Bai Yu saw Hattori Kyujo and said to Hattori Kyujo again. Bai Yu naturally would not let Hattori Kyujo let go of his hatred. This kind of hatred cannot be let go, but Bai Yu thinks it should not occupy all of Hattori Kyujo. Because helping Hattori Kyujo to avenge is not something that Bai Yu can't do, even if Hattori Kyujo's target of revenge is Muzan Kibutsuji. If Hattori Kyujo's target of revenge is Muzan Kibutsuji, then Muzan Kibutsuji is not only the object of her debt collection, but also the object of the crusade of all the people in the Demon Slayer Corps. Captain Bai Yu, you are thinking so beautifully. Maybe it's because the upper rank demons can't put pressure on you. It turns out that being strong is the best protection. And I don't think I can live that long. Hattori Kyujo couldn't help but sigh. Since joining the Demon Slayer Corps, especially before meeting Bai Yu, Hattori Kyujo has been on the edge of death several times, so Hattori Kyujo has already realized death. Hearing this, Bai Yu didn't expect Hattori Kyujo to say such a straightforward thing. This indifferent look on life and death can't help but make people feel a little sad. Chapter 537 The Past. However, Bai Yu did not say to Hattori Kyujo that he would protect him for the rest of his life, although such words would make Hattori Kyujo happy. The reason for not saying so is, of course, that Bai Yu cannot guarantee that he can do it. Of course, this does not mean that Bai Yu is not strong enough, but if he wants to protect Hattori Kyujo, then Hattori Kyujo must stay away from danger, just like Kanzaki Aoi. Or Hattori Kyujo follows him all the time, but this is obviously unlikely. And I will protect you for the rest of your life. This sentence more or less has a confession meaning. Bai Yu now has 2 women, and it is really not appropriate to say such words to girls. This time it was Bai Yu's turn to be silent. Perhaps it was because he was a superdimensional crossing system, so he thought things were so beautiful. Indeed, every choice of Bai Yu was to push things in a good direction. Perhaps Bai Yu was the most accepting and vulnerable person to tragedy. If the people around him suddenly left, Bai Yu would be able to understand Hattori Kyujo's feelings. By the way, Captain Bai Yu, why did you join the Demon Slayer Corps? I guess you definitely didn't join the Demon Slayer Corps because your relatives left. Seeing Bai Yu didn't say anything, Hattori Kyujo immediately asked Bai Yu again. Hearing this, Bai Yu did not hide it and said, "You are right. I did not join the Demon Slayer Corps because of hatred. The reason I joined the Demon Slayer Corps is because of the demons in my body." This was the first time Hattori Kyujo heard Bai Yu talk about his secret, and it was also the first time Bai Yu took the initiative to talk to Hattori Kyujo about this. Regarding the matter of demons, in addition to Tanjiro, Tomioka Giyu, Yurakoda Kisakonji, Tameo, Yoshiro, Kocho Shinobu, and Ringoku Kyojiro, Hattori Kyujo was another insider who Bai Yu took the initiative to explain to him. However, Bai Yu did not start the demonization in front of Hattori Kyujo, or when Bai Yu started the demonization, Hattori Kyujo was not present. Demons? Hattori Kyujo also became confused. After that, Bai Yu simply told Hattori Kyujo about the ghosts and gods. Of course, some of the stories were fabricated by Bai Yu. For example, driven by the ghosts and gods, they found ghosts to drink, ghosts' blood, and then found Nezuko. Because Nezuko's blood was very special, it became a special nourishment for ghosts and gods. This statement just explains why Bai Yu must protect Nezuko, and Bai Yu is indeed relying on Nezuko's blood to nourish the ghosts and gods, and Nezuko's blood is really special. The real reason why Bai Yu protects Nezuko is not because of this, but because Bai Yu's life is bound to Nezuko, which is why Nezuko cannot die. Seeing that Bai Yu told some of his secrets, Hattori Kyujo also talked about her. Hattori Kyujo's ancestors opened an escort agency. Because of the development of the times and the pressure of survival, the Hattori family changed the escort agency to a kendo hall, and his father was originally a student of the kendo hall. Because of his extremely fast talent, he suddenly became the most powerful swordsman in the kendo hall. Hattori Kyujo's grandfather loved Hattori Kyujo's father very much, so he betrothed his daughter to Kyujo's father. Kyujo's father naturally agreed to the request of marrying into the family, and then took over the kendo hall from Kyujo's grandfather, and managed it in an orderly manner. Chapter 538 Tragic Past. Since he was born, Hattori Kyujo has lived a life of ease and happiness. However, the good times did not last long. When Hattori Kyujo was 10 years old, he encountered a tragic event that he could not forget. The ghost invaded the kendo hall of Hattori Kyujo's family and planned to kidnap Hattori Kyujo and her mother. However, after the ghost entered the family's bedroom, Hattori Kyujo's father was awakened by the smell of the ghost. After that, Hattori Kyujo's father took a knife and started a fierce battle with the ghost, which awakened Hattori Kyujo and his mother who were sleeping soundly. With his superb swordsmanship, Hattori Kyujo's father easily cut off the ghost's arms. He thought the matter was resolved, but when Hattori Kyujo saw the ghost's chopped arms grow again, he was immediately horrified. Knowing that he had encountered a monster, Hattori Kyujo's father did not panic, but immediately ordered Hattori Kyujo's mother to take Hattori Kyujo away. After the ghost seemed to know that the man had some tricks, he also became serious and punched Hattori Kyujo's father out of the door. After that, the ghost turned to Hattori Kyujo and her mother, as if he was only coming for Hattori Kyujo and her mother. It was also when the ghost turned around at that moment that Hattori Kyujo's eyes with extraordinary vision clearly saw the appearance of the ghost. In that state, even for a short second, the picture could be frozen in Hattori Kyujo's mind like a photo. The man with long yellow hair, who looked very elegant, had a smile on his lips, but that smile seemed so weird in that situation. The most important thing was that there were words in the man's eyes, and those words were upper string and second. At that time, Hattori Kyujo was not the ghost of that man, and this was only known later. The noise in the bedroom also immediately alarmed Hattori Kyujo's grandfather, who rushed over with a sword, and then drew his sword to chop the upper string too, and the two sides immediately fought together. Hattori Kyujo's father also endured the severe pain in his body, rushed into the room again, and yelled to the mother and daughter who were already frightened and stunned, "Go. This guy is a monster." Hattori Kyujo's mother only then reacted, dragged the young Hattori Kyujo out of the room, and on the way out, Hattori Kyujo's mother was hit by an iron fan that flew out of the upper string too and instantly cut off Hattori Kyujo's mother's legs. Hattori Kyujo's mother screamed immediately, but after knowing that she could not run away, Hattori Kyujo's mother asked Hattori Kyujo to run away by herself. Hattori Kyujo was unwilling at the time, but under the scolding of his mother, Hattori Kyujo reluctantly left his mother and ran away. Just as Hattori Kyujo turned and ran away, Upper Rank 2 threw another iron fan at Hattori Kyujo, seemingly not intending to let him go. Hattori Kyujo's grandfather, who was eager to protect his son, sacrificed himself to block the iron fan of Upper Rank 2 for Hattori Kyujo, and eventually Hattori Kyujo's grandfather was killed on the spot. Hattori Kyujo's father, who was heartbroken by the loss of his family, burst out with amazing energy. Although he could not kill Upper Rank 2, he managed to hold him back. This also bought enough time for Hattori Kyujo to escape, but in the end, Hattori Kyujo's father, mother, and grandfather all died at the hands of Upper Rank 2. Chapter 539 The Girl Who Needs Support. After listening to Hattori Kyujo telling Bai Yu about his tragic past, he said, "The upper string demon is too powerful. With my ability, it is unlikely that I can avenge my family. But Captain Bai Yu, you have the ability to do it. I can see that the upper string demon is not a threat to you at all." The reason why Hattori Kyujo made such an unreasonable request to Bai Yu at this time was actually because he saw that Bai Yu was powerful and could suppress the upper string demon. If Bai Yu did not have such a strong strength, Hattori Kyujo would not ask Bai Yu to help him avenge himself. If Bai Yu was not strong enough, Hattori Kyujo's request would be a bit too much to ask, and it was very stupid. Hearing this, Bai Yu couldn't help but smile, neither denying nor admitting. The upper string demon was not a big threat to Bai Yu, but if Bai Yu wanted to kill the upper string demon, it would indeed take some effort. Don't worry, the remaining upper strings of the 12 Kazuki and Musen Kibutsuji are all targets that the Demon Slayer Corps wants to eliminate. This can't be rushed. Bai Yu knew that Hattori Kyujo really wanted to use his hand to get rid of the upper string 2 who had killed his relatives. But this kind of thing can't be rushed unless the upper string 2 is right in front of him now. Captain Bai Yu, I have another request. If conditions permit, I hope you can let the upper string 2 die in front of me. Hattori Kyujo finally made a more willful request to Bai Yu. The only person who Hattori Kyujo can make a willful request to him now is perhaps Bai Yu. Because in addition to her own trainer, Bai Yu is her second mentor in life. I've made a note of the matter. But I still hope you can think more about your future. You are not alone now. You still have a group of people who are not a family. It's getting late. Go to bed early. It's time to go back to the headquarters tomorrow. After Bai Yu said goodbye to Hattori Kyujo for the last time, he left the room where Hattori Kyujo was. Hattori Kyujo was not alone in a room, but in a room with the unconscious Tanjiro and Agatsuma Zenitsu. After Bai Yu left, he couldn't help but murmured, "This girl really needs someone to rely on. Should I introduce this girl to Tomioka?" Thinking of Tomioka Giyu and Hattori Kyujo as a pair, Bai Yu couldn't help but chuckle and shook his head. The next day on this day, Bai Yu and his party followed the invisible department to evacuate from the Flower Street. After several days of trekking, they returned to the headquarters. The reason why it took a long time to go back was because the marching speed was not fast. This was also to take care of the feelings of the wounded, and there was no need to rush in the current situation. After returning to the headquarters, after the injured were settled, Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu called a meeting of the pillars the next day. The meeting of the pillars is generally held once every 6 months, and if there are more special or urgent situations, it will also be held. Just like the Infinite Train and the Hanamachi trip, because both operations encountered upper rank demons, they were considered special cases. After all, the Demon Slayer Corps didn't have many opportunities to come into contact with upper rank demons, so anything related to upper rank demons and Musen Kibutsuji will be taken very seriously. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540 Official Announcement. Moreover, an upper rank was killed this time, so it was reasonable to convene a meeting of the pillars. The reason why Shinobu Kocho was not absent was because her injury was the lightest. Even if her broken hand was not reattached, it would not affect her going to the meeting. And Shinobu Kocho's reattached broken hand is now in a plaster cast, which is also to make the arm better fixed and reduce the chance of dislocation and healing of the arm. Otherwise the arm will grow crooked and it will be a bit ugly. As for Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin, they were unable to attend this meeting because of their serious injuries. When Bai Yu and Shinobu Kocho came to the meeting room of the Yubuayashiki mansion, others had already been waiting here early, and after the two arrived, everyone's eyes were focused on Bai Yu and Shinobu Kocho. This may be because Bai Yu carried Shinobu Kocho in a princess hug, because Shinobu Kocho's hand injury would affect Shinobu Kocho's hand if she was carried on her back, so Bai Yu could only carry her in a princess hug. But in this way, the two looked very intimate, which attracted the attention of other pillars. However, no one talked about anything, just looked at the two quietly. The look in the eyes of the wind pillar Fujigawa Minoru is full of hostility among everyone else. Although he no longer has any disrespect for Bai Yu, he still feels aggrieved about being injured by Bai Yu last time, and he has never let it go. Bai Yu's status in the Demon Slayer Corps is getting higher and higher, and now he is on par with the pillars. It is difficult for Fujigawa Minoru to find an opportunity to challenge Bai Yu to a fight. At the same time, this is not allowed. After all, Bai Yu and Fujigawa Minoru are both powerful pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, and whoever gets injured will have an impact on the situation. Although Fujigawa Minoru does not quite recognize Bai Yu in his heart, he knows in his heart how powerful Bai Yu is. This is a very contradictory state. If they really want to fight, then Fujigawa Minoru is no match for Bai Yu now. If the two really wanted to fight, when they came back from Spider Mountain that day, Fujigawa Minoru could really defeat Bai Yu. Seeing that everyone was looking at herself and Bai Yu, Shinobu Kocho did not feel shy at all. Instead, she looked at everyone with a smile and took the initiative to greet them, saying, "Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see you all again. I almost couldn't come back from the Flower Street trip." At this time, Michiri Kanraji asked cautiously and curiously, "Arnold, are you already dating?" So happy. Although everyone knew that Bai Yu and Shinobu Kocho were likely to be together, the parties involved did not give a positive response to this matter, and they naturally would not care too much about it. Only Michiri Kanraji, as a girl, would ask this. Yes, it's not a big deal, so there is no need to announce it. Shinobu Kocho admitted. When can I also have a perfect husband? Michiri Kanraji fantasized with expectation. There will be. Shinobu Kocho agreed. After that, Bai Yu put Shinobu Kocho down on the seat where she was sitting, and Bai Yu also sat down on the empty seat next to her, and the atmosphere became quiet again. Such a serious occasion was indeed not the place to show affection, so Bai Yu and Shinobu Kocho did not make any excessive moves. They just sat quietly in their seats waiting for Yubuyasha Kiyoya to arrive. Chapter 541, Pillar Meeting. After Bai Yu and Kocho Shinobu took their seats, everyone's eyes shifted away. Only Tomioka Giyu and Kanraji Mitsuri kept their eyes on Bai Yu. Kanraji Mitsuri's eyes were full of envy and admiration, while Tomioka Giyu's eyes were full of worries. After waiting for a while, Yubuyasha Kiyoya came to the conference hall with the support of a beautiful white-haired woman and her 2 daughters. Just from the state of Yubuyasha Kiyoya, it is obvious that he is very different from half a year ago. It seems that his physical condition is more serious. This can be seen not only from the fact that he needs someone to support him to walk, but also from the diseased appearance of Yubuyasha Kiyoya. Before, only the upper part of his face was affected by the disease, but now the whole face has been completely diseased, which looks even more terrifying. In addition to the face, in fact, other parts of Yubuyasha Kiyoya's body have also begun to disease, but they are just covered by clothes. Another difference from before is the eyes, which have become more turbid. With the help of his family, Yubuyasha Kiyoya sat down in his main seat. His wife and 2 daughters were waiting beside him. After Yubuyasha Kiyoya sat down, he started to cough. After he recovered, he said weakly, "Everyone is here. I wish you good health, master." Everyone said in unison except Bai Yu. Yubuyasha Kiyoya's wife said to him, "Except for Lord Ringoku and Lord Yuzu who were seriously injured, everyone else is here." Yubuyasha Kiyoya nodded. It was understandable that Ringoku Kaijiro and Yuzu Tenjin were unable to attend the meeting due to their injuries. Then let's have the meeting. The trip to Hanamachi is enough to prove that Muzan Kibutsuji has a strong desire to kill Tanjiro, so he sent out the top upper moon Kokushibo again. This is a good thing for us. Only when Muzan Kibutsuji can't hold back, we will have a chance to catch him. However, the injuries of Kokushibo, Ringoku and Yuzu also indirectly prove the strength of Kokushibo. Although Kokushibo was not killed this time, Kokushibo also returned empty-handed. It is a relatively good result to make Kokushibo return empty-handed. Yubuyasha Kiyoya began to speak slowly. At this time, Fushiguro-san took over and said, "If I had gone to Hanamachi with him at that time, I would have been able to kill Kokushibo." Although Fushiguro-san's words were a bit of hindsight, Fushiguro-san did not say that he could kill Kokushibo alone, but that with the cooperation of Shinobu Kocho, Ringoku Kaijiro and Yuzu Tenjin, so he did not mean to brag. Yeah. It's such a pity. If we knew there were 3 upper rank demons in Hanamachi, we could have caught them all in one fell swoop. Kanraji Mitsuri also felt it was a pity. At that time, the news sent back by Yuzu Tenjin mentioned that there would be 2 upper rank demons to encircle Shiraha and Tanjiro. And judging from Muzan Kibutsuji's timid style of behavior, no one would have thought that Muzan Kibutsuji would send half of the upper rank demons to complete this plan. Chapter 542, Bank Run. Therefore, 2 upper rank was the most likely outcome, so Shinobu Kocho and Kaijiro Ringoku were sent to support. Together with Shiraha and Tenjin Yuzu, it was obviously enough to deal with 2 upper rank. But no one could have imagined that one of the people who carried out Muzan Kibutsuji's instructions in Hanamachi would be the leader of the upper rank, Kokushibo. What was even more unexpected was that Kokushibo's strength was so terrifying that he could overwhelm 3 pillars and seriously injure them. If Shiraha had arrived a little later, what he would have seen would be 3 corpses. It can be said that the Demon Slayer Corps miscalculated this time. Although Kokushibo was not killed, we got news from Shiraha that the upper string 6, who was entrenched in the Flower Streeters and Warren, Daki, was confirmed to have been killed, and the upper string 3, who was responsible for restraining Shiraha, was also seriously injured and fled. The death of the first upper string of the 12 demon moons is a good thing for the Demon Slayer Corps, as it breaks the curse that the pillars cannot defeat the upper strings. Before this, too many of our pillars have died at the hands of upper string demons. Yubuyasha Kiyoya continued. The upper string 6 is the last upper string. Being at the last, it is obvious that his strength will not be too strong. If it were me, I could kill him too. Snake Pillar Iguro Abane said, not surprised at all that Shiraha killed the upper string 6, nor did he think that Shiraha had done something extraordinary, and he acted as if he could do it too. Abane is right, we just lack the opportunity to meet the upper strings. Fushiguro Miai echoed. Bai Yu didn't care about this at all, and he didn't think that killing the upper 6 was something to brag about. Iguro Abane could also kill the upper 6, that's his business. I also want to fight the upper 6. Takito Muchiro said blankly. Well, I think the upper 6 came back empty-handed this time, and it's probably hard to have such an opportunity again. The 2 consecutive defeats in the Infinite Train and the Flower Street will probably make Musen more cautious. The calm and steady Jayamui of sadness did not squeeze Bai Yu, but analyzed the situation afterwards. Tomioka Giyu was still as silent as ever, and did not participate in the discussion. What Sadness said makes sense. Musen's 2 consecutive defeats will indeed make him more cautious. But this is also good, it can give Kocho, Ringoku and Yuzu time to recover. Yubuayashiki Yoana said again. Bai Yu, do you have anything to say? At this time, Yubuayashiki Yoya took the initiative to ask Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu shook his head and said, no. Seeing that Bai Yu had no intention of speaking, Yubuayashiki Yoya did not force him, and then asked, Bai Yu, the news said that you have activated the marking, right? Hearing this, Bai Yu nodded, and did not deny, indeed. Can you tell me how you activated the marking? Among the 9 pillars, except for Beaming Guy Xingming who activated the marking, the others have not yet reached that point. Yubuayashiki Yoya continued to ask. After knowing that Bai Yu had activated the marking, the others couldn't help but look at Bai Yu. When asked this question, Bai Yu didn't know how to answer. This marking was a system task reward, and Bai Yu really didn't know how to unlock this ability. Chapter 543, Live Beyond 25. However, Bai Yu still pondered for a while, sorted out his thoughts, and then began to talk. Strippus is a state. Only when the body reaches a certain critical point can it enter that state. We all know what you said. Seeing Bai Yu talking nonsense, Fuzikola Sanya interrupted Bai Yu's story. Sanya. Yubuayashiki Yoya immediately signaled Fuzikola Sanya to not interrupt Bai Yu's story casually. Although what Bai Yu said just now was actually known to the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps, interrupting Bai Yu's words was a sign of disrespect. Fuzikola Sanya immediately turned his head to the side and stopped talking. At this time, Bai Yu continued, if we really want to talk about the most basic condition for opening the stripes, it is that the heartbeat must be maintained at more than 200 times per minute. After that, the body temperature will rise rapidly, reaching 40 degrees or even higher, and the blood in the whole body will feel boiling. Only after the body is pushed to the limit can it enter this state. That is to say, the conditions for opening the stripes cannot be met under normal training. In addition, the body has a self-protection mechanism. When the body load reaches the critical point, people will either faint or lose strength. Only when the willpower in the heart is strong enough can this critical point be broken through. Bai Yu recalled the feeling of opening the stripes, and then combined with his own analysis, he summarized the matter. As for whether this can open the stripes, Bai Yu did not know. Hearing this, everyone can also hear the harshness of this condition. It is not an easy thing to break through the limit of the body, but it is a very dangerous thing, because if it is not done well, the body will not be able to withstand the state after breaking through the limit and die suddenly. This is a bit like the phoenix nirvana rebirth, the butterfly breaking out of the cocoon. If it fails, it means death. Bai Yu's marking is unlocked by the system, so naturally this dangerous step is skipped. After Bai Yu opened the marking, he woke up the next day and felt a rare feeling of soreness all over his body. The soreness almost made it impossible to move. In the end, Bai Yu was able to recover with the help of the recovery of the wood breath. So Bai Yu can feel the burden of opening the marking on the body. I think Bai Yu is right. Marking does put a lot of burden on the body. This is why swordsmen who open marking don't live long. Beaming Guy Xingming also agreed with Bai Yu's words. Bai Yu listened to Beaming Guy Xingming's words, and then asked with some surprise, will marking affect life expectancy? Bai Yu really didn't know whether marking would affect life expectancy. Bai Yu only knew that opening, marking, would put a lot of burden on the body. Yes, those who open the zebra mark don't live long. According to the historical records of the Demon Slayer Corps, those who open the zebra mark don't live past the age of 25. Yubuayashiki Yoshiya said to Bai Yu without hiding anything. This is actually something that the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps know. Although they know it, it doesn't stop them from pursuing it. Because swordsmen who can open the zebra mark are very powerful in history, and the representative of them is the swordsman who created the first breathing method, Yorei Chitsujukoku. Chapter 544 Questioning Bai Yu. The reason why the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps are not afraid of this is because their mission itself is dangerous. If they don't master the method to become stronger, they will only die faster. In this comparison, opening the marked pattern is the choice that can live longer, and it is also the choice that is more likely to kill the upper strings and Musenkibutsuji. Secondly, mastering the method of opening and opening the marked pattern are two concepts. If you master the method of opening, you can try to open it at the critical moment of life and death. If the opening is successful, you may be able to survive. However, after hearing the news that he would not live beyond the age of 25, Bai Yu immediately checked his lifespan with the system. After finding out that he still had 78 years to live, Bai Yu was not so worried. At least this curse will not affect him. But Bai Yu still curiously asked Beaming Gaiyu Xingming, how old is brother Beaming this year? Bai Yu called him big brother out of respect for Beaming Gaiyu Xingming, and Beaming Gaiyu Xingming's giant physique is also suitable for the title of big brother. At the same time, Bai Yu also learned from Kocho Shinobu that Beaming Gaiyu Xingming is the oldest one in the Demon Slayer Corps. 27. Beaming Gaiyu Xingming replied calmly. Hearing this, Bai Yu was a little surprised. Didn't they say that he would not live beyond 25 years old? Now he has lived to 27, hasn't he? As if knowing that Bai Yu was a little puzzled, Beaming Gaiyu Xingming said again, there are exceptions to everything, but this does not mean that I can live a long life. Maybe if I open the mark next time, I will die. Bai Yu also understood it at once. This situation varies from person to person. It may be that most of the swordsmen who have opened the mark before died at the age of 25. Bai Yu thinks that the reason why Beaming Gaiyu Xingming can live beyond 25 years old may have something to do with his physique. After all, Beaming Gaiyu Xingming's giant-like physique is not something that ordinary people can have. Could it be because of the strength of the body? Maybe if the body is trained strong enough, maybe opening the marking will not affect the lifespan. Bai Yu said his speculation again. This also makes sense. I have thought about the reasons before. It's just that it's difficult for someone to train the body to my level. Beaming Gaiyu Xingming also agreed with this. As for the conversation between Bai Yu and Beaming Gaiyu Xingming, other people actually couldn't interrupt, because other people had never opened the marking, and didn't know the specific conditions for opening the marking. The only thing they could do was to quietly receive the useful information from Bai Yu and Beaming Gaiyu Xingming's words. Let's stop here for now about the markings. Because there are too few records about markings. Maybe markings are not yet perfect, so it will shorten people's lifespan. I think what Bai Yu and Beaming said is very reasonable. Before you open the markings, you can start by strengthening your body. At this time, Yubuayashiki Yoya spoke up and temporarily stopped the topic. Hearing this, Bai Yu and Beaming Yu Xingming stopped talking. Bai Yu, I have something to ask you. The news also said that you mastered a magical healing technique, and you used this magical healing technique to reconnect the broken limbs of Butterfly, Rengoku and Juzu. Can you tell me about this healing technique? Yubuayashiki Yoya continued to ask Bai Yu. Chapter 545, the official announcement of breathing of wood. As soon as Yubuayashiki Yoya said this, everyone was shocked. This was more shocking than Bai Yu opening the stripes. Reattaching a broken arm is still impossible even with the current medical level. As long as the limbs and torso are separated, there is no possibility of reattaching them. Even with the level of modern medicine, even if it can be done, it is an extremely complex and difficult task. Bai Yu's wood essence is more advanced and magical than conventional modern medical operations in terms of efficiency and recovery effect. The magic of wood essence is incomparable to traditional modern medicine. Is there really such a magical thing? Kanrigi Mitsuru's eyes shifted to Bai Yu again, looking at Bai Yu with curiosity and admiration. Brother Bai Yu is so handsome. It would be great if he was still single. At the same time, Kanrigi Mitsuri couldn't help but mutter in her heart. Kocho Shinobu remained silent. Although she was an eyewitness to this incident and knew the magic of Bai Yu's healing technique, Kocho Shinobu didn't mean to brag about it. Bai Yu also knew that it was normal for him to show his ability and be known by everyone, so Bai Yu did not want to hide it and explained that kind of healing technique is actually a breathing method. I call this breathing method the breathing of wood. Bai Yu announced the breathing of wood word by word. He could use 3 kinds of breathing at the same time, and this kind of thing could not be concealed, so Bai Yu simply told everything. Hearing Bai Yu's words, everyone's eyes were all focused on Bai Yu. Oh, a new breathing method? Yubuayashiki was also quite surprised to hear this, but he was very happy in his heart, because the more powerful Bai Yu was, the better it would be for the Demon Slayer Corps. That's right, but this breathing method is quite special, and not suitable for fighting. The breathing technique is just one that has been developed. As you know, the effect of wood breathing on healing the body and restoring the body's injuries, although the recovery speed may not be as strong as that of demon, it can still play a role in inhibiting the deterioration of injuries and accelerating the healing of injuries. In general, wood breathing is still in the initial stage of exploration and development, and it is a kind of auxiliary type of breathing method. Bai Yu continued. Brother Bai Yu is so amazing. He can actually use 2 kinds of breathing. Kanrigi Mitsuri couldn't help but brag about Bai Yu. Fushigawashima secretly gnashed his teeth. He couldn't accept that Bai Yu had already walked ahead of everyone in just a few months, and even opened up a large distance to become the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. Of course, Fushigawashima was not jealous, but more because he had never encountered an upper string in such a long time, since he became a pillar, which made him feel very cowardly. Since it is an auxiliary breathing technique, can the other pillars also learn and master it? If the other pillars can master this breathing technique, it will be of great help to us and the Demon Slayer Corps. Iguro Abana interrupted at this time, showing great interest in Bai Yu's breathing technique. Hearing this, Bai Yu also saw Iguro Abana's intention and couldn't help but smile. Chapter 546, Teaching Wood Breathing. Bai Yu knew that Iguro Abana might also want to learn this breathing of wood, but Bai Yu did not mean to be unwilling to share it. After all, breathing of wood is not something that is so easy to master. Whether Iguro Abana can learn it or not is still unknown. After all, Iguro Abana is no longer a blank sheet of paper. It is not easy to master a kind of breathing at this time. Even if you master it, it is also a very difficult thing to raise the breathing of wood to the level that Bai Yu has reached. After all, only after mastering the essence of breathing of wood or even the mystery of it, breathing of wood can have a very considerable healing effect. If you only master a little bit of fur, the effect that can be played is very small. Of course, Bai Yu is not unwilling for others to master breathing of wood. It's just that it is unrealistic to let a large number of people master breathing of wood now. Want to learn? I'll teach you. Bai Yu teased Iguro Abana. Hearing this, Iguro Abana was not affected, but replied calmly, I'm just expressing my question. Theoretically, there is no problem in mastering the 2 types of breathing. As for whether you can learn it or not, it depends on the individual. If you want to learn, I can also teach you. Bai Yu replied. After that, Bai Yu looked at the wife of Yubuayashiki and then said, the head of the house, the wife, should have never learned breathing, right? Seeing Bai Yu suddenly talking to her, the wife of Yubuayashiki replied, no, what's wrong? Then the lady is the most suitable candidate to learn the breathing of wood. Only those who have not learned the breathing method can accept new things more easily, Bai Yu said. Hearing this, the wife of Yubuayashiki politely refused. I'm an ordinary woman. Learning the breathing method is too unrealistic for me. Besides, the head of the house cannot do without my care. Madam, you might as well try it. If you master it, you can always take care of the head of the house. Although it should not be able to completely cure the head of the house's illness, it can slow down the deterioration of the illness. Bai Yu continued to persuade. In fact, letting Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's wife learn the breath of wood is also to prolong his life. Moreover, long-term care of the essence of wood may bring unexpected changes to Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's body. Bai Yu, your wife is really busy. If possible, let my child learn from you. Yubuayashiki Yoshiya suggested at this time. Yubuayashiki Yoshiya made such an arrangement, and naturally he had his own plans. If Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's condition was not so serious, Yubuayashiki Yoshiya would definitely have no objection to letting his wife learn the breath of wood. But now Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's physical condition must be taken care of by someone at all times. Hearing this, Bai Yu did not say anything more. Bai Yu proposed that Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's wife learn the breath of wood from him. It was not that Bai Yu had any idea about Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's wife, but that Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's wife was not cursed and was a very healthy person. After all, using the breath of wood to treat others would put a certain burden on oneself. If Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's children were allowed to learn it, they would probably only be able to regulate their own bodies through wood breathing, but would not be able to heal their father, because if they did so, their already weak bodies would probably not be able to withstand that kind of consumption. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547 Abdication. That's why Bai Yu proposed to let Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's wife learn. After all, as Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's wife, she is the most suitable candidate. Alright. Bai Yu knew that Yubuayashiki Yoshiya might be considering his descendants, and he seemed to have seen his own ending very clearly. If you want to learn, you can go to Bai Yu for advice. I believe Bai Yu is also happy to get along with everyone. Although Bai Yu has not been in the Demon Slayer Corps for a long time, as a rising star of the Demon Slayer Corps, he has the qualifications to become a pillar, so everyone should respect him. Yubuayashiki Yoshiya said for Bai Yu again. Yubuayashiki Yoshiya's words were more for Fushiguro Minoru, because among all the pillars, Fushiguro Minoru's personality was the most impulsive, so Fushiguro Minoru fought with Bai Yu last time. Fortunately, Bai Yu was a person who knew the limit, so the situation did not develop to a very serious level. However, Yubuayashiki Yoshiya knew that Fushiguro Minoru was very unconvinced at that time. Yes, everyone responded. Brother Bai Yu, please take good care of me in the future. Kanroji Mitsuri took the opportunity to wave to Bai Yu. At this time, the taciturn Tomioka Giyu said, Master, I have something to say. Tomioka Giyu's words also attracted everyone's attention, because in the eyes of all the pillars, Tomioka Giyu was a taciturn person and never took the initiative to speak during the meeting. Tomioka Giyu would only speak when it was necessary to report intelligence. So Tomioka Giyu suddenly took the initiative to speak, which really attracted everyone's attention. Everyone was curious about what Tomioka Giyu was going to say. Just say whatever you want. Giyu. Yubuayashiki Kyoa allowed Tomioka Giyu to speak. I want to give up the position of the water pillar to my junior brother Bai Yu. Tomioka Giyu said seriously and solemnly. After Tomioka Giyu finished speaking, everyone was silent again, and Bai Yu did not look happy at all, because Bai Yu was not interested in the title. Brother Yang, the title of the pillar is not something that can be given to someone casually. You are being too frivolous. Bai Yu said at this time. Bai Yu is right. The title of the pillar is not just a simple title, honor, and status. It is more about responsibility. Yang, you are pushing all the responsibility to Bai Yu. Yubuayashiki Yoya disagreed with Tomioka Giyu's decision. Although Yubuayashiki Yoya knew that Bai Yu had the qualifications and ability to become a pillar, Yubuayashiki Yoya did not make Bai Yu a pillar. This was also because Tomioka Giyu was already in the position of the water pillar. If Bai Yu was given the title of the pillar again, it would make the title of the pillar extremely cheap. Therefore, Yubuayashiki Yoya did not give Bai Yu any title. Yubuayashiki Yoya also knew that Bai Yu did not care about these. The title of the water pillar was also obtained by Tomioka Giyu with his own ability, so Yaiba Kiyoya would naturally not deprive Tomioka Giyu of the title of the pillar. As a pillar, you cannot give up your position easily. You can only give up your position if you die in battle, or are unable to fight due to injuries, or if you are too old to do so. Yaiba continued. I know all this, but the title of water pillar is given to the strongest user of water breathing. I'm not the strongest, so I should abdicate. Chapter 548 Escape. Tomioka Giyu found another very reasonable reason to abdicate. From his resolute tone, it can be seen that he really wants to give this position to Bai Yu, who is more qualified. In fact, Yaiba Kiyoya knows the real reason why Tomioka Giyu abdicated. This may also be not in Tomioka Giyu's heart, but it was also because of that time that Tomioka Giyu became stronger and took over the title of water pillar from his master Urokoda Kisakonji. However, the title of pillar seems to have become a burden for him, making him work harder. However, Bai Yu still has no intention of taking over, but said very humbly, "Brother Giyu, the title of water pillar is what you exchanged for your life. It should belong to you, and in terms of water breathing alone, I'm really not as good as you. After all, I learned a wood breathing, and I learned it a bit mixed, so my water breathing is not pure enough. I can't be a water pillar. No, you are qualified. I see his shadow in you," Tomioka Giyu said very firmly. "Giyu, escaping won't solve any problems." Yaiba Kiyoya reminded Tomioka Giyu again. "I didn't escape. I just let the name of the water pillar return to the one who belongs to him," Tomioka Giyu explained. "Your abdication is an escape, not only to escape the responsibility of being a pillar, but also to escape the past that you can't let go of. Haven't you let go of the things of the past?" Yaiba Kiyoya continued to say to Tomioka Giyu, as if he wanted to let Tomioka Giyu let go of the burden on his heart through this. This time, Tomioka Giyu was stunned, and his mind suddenly seemed to have returned to the past that Yaiba Kiyoya said. It was because Yaiba Kiyoya knew every pillar very well, knew their past, and always gave spiritual comfort. This is also one of the reasons why the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps believed in Yaiba Kiyoya. Bai Yu was a little confused. Whose shadow did Tomioka Giyu see in himself? He could actually let him take the initiative to give up the position of the water pillar. But the more so, the more Bai Yu couldn't let Tomioka Giyu succeed. When Yaiba Kiyoya finished speaking, he could not help but start coughing violently. The head. Others began to get anxious. Yaiba Kiyoya's wife immediately went to pat her husband on the back to calm him down. Brother Tomioka made the head angry. "What should I do?" Kanroji Mitsuri couldn't help but worry secretly. "Tomioka, if the head has something wrong, you can't get away from it," the irritable Fushiguro-san said to Tomioka Giyu viciously. Tomioka Giyu didn't say anything else, as if he was afraid that, if he said anything more, it would make Yaiba Kiyoya's condition worse. With the help of his wife, Yaiba Kiyoya recovered in a short while, and then said to everyone, "I'm fine. It's not Giyu's fault, it's my own body." The reason why Yaiba Kiyoya was like this was not because of Giyu Tomioka. Because of his weak body since childhood, Yaiba Kiyoya never got angry, and he never got angry. The cough just now was also because he said too much in the meeting, which consumed a lot of energy. Giyu, even if it's for your deceased sworn friend, the title of water pillar should not be given to Bai Yu, because the title of water pillar is not just a title for you, it's something you need to protect. Yaiba Kiyoya finally advised Tomioka Giyu. Chapter 549 Do you want a child? In the end, Tomioka Giyu said nothing more, and it was unknown whether he had taken the matter to heart. This gathering ended with the summary afterwards. After bidding farewell to Kiyoya, the others left one by one, leaving only Bai Yu, Kocho Shinobu, and Tomioka Giyu in the meeting room. Bai Yu stood up, walked in front of Tomioka Giyu, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "If your sworn friend had not died, the person who became the water pillar might have been him, not you. Is that what you think? Although I don't know how he died, as his sworn friend, you should have secured the position of the water pillar. What does it look like to hand it over to someone else?" Except for you. No one is more suitable to take this position in his place. Tomioka Giyu looked at Bai Yu and did not make any answer. Bai Yu had said everything he should say, so he had no intention of staying. He turned around and came to Kocho Shinobu, picked her up, and left the meeting room. On the way back, Bai Yu asked Kocho Ninja curiously, "Kao Kocho, do you know about Giyu?" Hearing this, Kocho Ninja shook her head and said, "I don't know. Giyu is a very lonely person. I don't know much about him." Seeing Kocho Ninja didn't know, Bai Yu didn't ask any more questions. "Well, should we consider having a child?" Kocho Ninja suddenly asked Bai Yu at this time. Bai Yu didn't mean to be shy, but just asked curiously, "Why do you want a child? If you have a child, the Demon Slayer Corps will have one less pillar." Kocho Ninja naturally knew about this. If she wanted a child, she would definitely have to withdraw from the front line, because it would take a lot of time to be pregnant for 10 months and then feed the baby after it is born. However, Kocho Ninja suddenly mentioned this because Bai Yu opened the marking. So even if Bai Yu could live past 25 years old like the rock pillar, Jiaomi, Kocho Ninja was afraid of that possibility. Bai Yu is now 22 years old. 5 years have passed since Bai Yu traveled to the world of Demon Slayer. Time flies. It is because Bai Yu is now 22 years old, so in order to prevent accidents, Shinobu Kocho wants to leave a descendant for Bai Yu and herself. If Shinobu Kocho knew that Bai Yu could live a long life, she probably wouldn't have the idea of having a child now. "You have activated the mark. I'm afraid that if you have something, it's good to have a descendant," Shinobu Kocho replied. Seeing Shinobu Kocho worried about herself, Bai Yu's heart warmed up. Because he was holding Shinobu Kocho, Bai Yu's hands were not free, so he had to move his face over and rub his nose against Shinobu Kocho's nose. "Let's wait until your injury is healed before considering the child," Bai Yu said to Shinobu Kocho with a smile. After carrying Shinobu Kocho back to the butterfly house, Kaneo had already prepared lunch. Bai Yu first fed Shinobu Kocho and then simply ate it. Kaneo also left to visit Tanjiro after lunch. After a simple rest, Bai Yu began to use the breathing of wood to give Kocho Shinobu a recovery treatment for about half an hour. After the treatment, Kocho Shinobu fell asleep. After Bai Yu settled Kocho Shinobu, he left the butterfly house. Chapter 555 Seconds of Real Manliness. Bai Yu, who left the butterfly house, came to the special ward for Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin to help them with recovery treatment. When he arrived at the ward, Bai Yu saw Juzu Tenjin's 3 wives serving him in the ward. Of course, in order to take care of Rengoku Kaijiro's feelings, one of Juzu Tenjin's 3 wives took the initiative to take care of Rengoku Kaijiro. Of course, it was just a simple care, like feeding, helping to massage stiff muscles. "Rengoku, you feel it? Don't you know how happy it is to have a wife to serve you?" Juzu Tenjin asked Rengoku Kaijiro with great pride. "That's right." Rengoku Kaijiro also agreed, and at the same time he had the idea of finding a wife in his heart. After all, now Rengoku Kaijiro has experienced the meticulous care of one of Juzu Tenjin's wives, and he is also yearning for a small family. You should find a wife quickly. That yellow-haired brat named Zenitsu, that guy has found one, and you, as a senior, are not as good as him in this regard, Juzu Tenjin said with a smile. "That's right, Zenitsu is still the best in terms of men and women." Rengoku Kaijiro also affirmed my wife Zenitsu in this regard. From the cheerful atmosphere of Rengoku Kaijiro and Juzu Tenjin chatting and farting, it can be seen that the two of them are no longer in any trouble. Although they can't move, bragging and farting are not a problem. Bai Yu's arrival did not change the atmosphere at all, but when they saw Bai Yu coming, they knew that they were going to receive treatment. Juzu Tenjin's 3 wives were also very eye-catching. They all stepped aside and brought stools to Bai Yu. From the actions of Juzu Tenjin's wives, it can be seen that marrying them as wives is definitely an extremely happy and enjoyable thing. Bai Yu then sat on the chair and then began to treat Rengoku Kaijiro without any nonsense. Because Bai Yu's treatment was not painful, Rengoku Kaijiro also took this opportunity to chat with Bai Yu. "Bai Yu, how is Tanjiro?" Rengoku Kaijiro was most concerned about his stepson Tanjiro, otherwise he would not have taken the initiative to ask for support in the Flower Street. The injury is fine, but he is still in a coma. The reason for the coma is not known yet, Bai Yu replied. What about the yellow-haired kid named Zenitsu? Yuzu Tenjin took this opportunity to ask Bai Yu. The situation is similar to Tanjiro, and he is also in a coma. Bai Yu replied again. That kid is a genius. He can actually use Thunderbolt Flash to that extent, and use the power of heaven to attract the thunder. When I recover from my injury, I will take him as my stepson. Yuzu Tenjin couldn't help but sighed. Now he treats my wife Zenitsu as a treasure. It's quite impressive. But Zenitsu is a real man for 5 seconds. Bai Yu couldn't help but smile when he heard Yuzu Tenjin praising Agatsuma Zenitsu, and then said, saying that Zenitsu is a real man for 5 seconds is to describe Agatsuma Zenitsu's Thunderbolt Flash very quickly, but because of this, Zenitsu is not suitable for long-term combat. After all, he only has one Thunderbolt Flash. But I have to remind you, if you take him as your stepson, he will probably take advantage of your 3 wives. This guy is best at taking advantage of girls. Bai Yu then kindly reminded Yuzu Tenjin. Although Agatsuma Zenitsu now has Kanzaki AOI, he still can't change his nature of taking advantage of girls, but he is much more restrained than before. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.